To find the greatest common divisor that 12 and 30 have in common, we can do this using prime factorization like you said. So to do that, we're going to find the prime factors of 12 and then the prime factors of 30. So here I have the number 12, and the first step is just to find two numbers that when multiplied together give me 12. So I'm going to say that 4 times 3 equals 12. And you can list any two numbers, so we could have listed 6 and 2 here. So here I have 4 times 3. Now 3 is a prime factor. The only factors of 3 are 1 in itself. So this is prime, so I'm just going to circle it to notify myself that that's prime and I don't have to factor it any further. Now with the 4 can be broken down into 2 times 2. And I'm going to circle these 2's because those are also prime. Now I can't factor these numbers any further, so the complete prime factorization of 12 is just 2 times 2 times 3. And if I were to multiply those numbers together, I would get the number 12, so I know that I'm correct. Now we're going to go ahead and factor 30 into the set of prime factors. So two numbers that when multiplied together that give me 30 are 5 times 6. 5 is a prime number. 6 can be further factored into 3 times 2. 3 and 2 are prime factors, so the prime factorization of 30 is 2 times 3 times 5. And again, if I were to multiply those out, I would get 30. Okay, now I want to find the greatest common divisor, or the number that they both have in common, the greatest number that they both have in common. So to do that, you're going to look at the prime factors. And I'm going to, I'll just take the prime factors of 12 first. And you're going to look at the first prime factor, which is a 2. And then you're going to compare that to the prime factors of 30. And you'll ask yourself, how many 2's do these numbers have in common? Well, there's only 1 2 in the prime factorization of 30, so they only have 1 2 in common. So when I go ahead and write the GCD, I'm just going to write 1 2. All right, so I just went over my 2's. Now I'm going to look at the next factor, which is a 3. So 12 has 1 3 in its prime factorization, and 30 has 1 3 in its prime factorization. So they both have 1 3 in common. So I'll write down a 3 here. So I went through all the prime factors of 12. Now I can go to the 5 in the prime factors of 30, and I want to list the number of 5's that they have in common. Well, they don't have any 5's in common. 12 doesn't have a 5 in its prime factorization, so I'm not going to include that in my list because they both don't have the 5 in common. So to find the GCD, we just multiply the factors that they have in common. So 2 times 3 equals 6. So that's how I know that I can factor out a 6 from both 12 and 30 because that's the greatest common divisor.